Iran fires more missiles at Israel, celebrates downing of 2 U.S. warplanes, sends a powerful message. This isn't just about battlefield tactics. This is about prestige, power, and perception. Iran is positioning itself as a nation willing to stand up to what many consider the world's dominant superpower, the United States. We are going to track one of the most dangerous military conflicts the Middle East has seen in decades. Something new and deeply troubling entered this battlefield in the last several hours. For the first time in this conflict, cluster munitions have been confirmed in Iranian missile strikes on northern Israel. Now let me explain what that actually means, because this is not just another missile. A cluster bomb warhead is specifically designed to open mid-air and scatter dozens, sometimes hundreds, of smaller explosives called bomblets across a wide area. They do not hit one target, they hit everything in a radius. Roads, vehicles, homes, a street where someone is walking their dog. That is the design intent of this weapon. Wide coverage, maximum disruption. Multiple cluster munition impact sites have now been confirmed in the Haifa area. Roads damaged, vehicles hit. And while there are thankfully no mass casualty reports from these specific sites, let us be clear, that is more luck than design. Israel's military has confirmed the missile was deliberately equipped with a cluster bomb warhead. This was not an accident, not a malfunction. This was a choice, a message. And the message is simple. We are raising the stakes. Here is something that should concern every analyst watching this conflict. These strikes are not random. They are not panicked. They are calculated. After a deliberate pause of nearly 8 hours, Iran launched a fresh ballistic missile attack on northern Israel. Before that pause, another Iranian missile, again with a cluster warhead, had already struck central Israel, spreading bomblets across an entirely different part of the country. What you are witnessing is not desperation. This is a methodical campaign, timed to keep Israeli and American defense systems under sustained pressure, to wear down interception capabilities, to probe for weaknesses, and to send a clear message to the Israeli public and to Washington: we are still here, we are still capable, and we are not finished. Alongside the aerial war in the north, Israel is now preparing what could be a major strategic shift on its northern land border with Lebanon. According to Israeli military sources, plans are being drawn up to establish what they are calling a security zone inside southern Lebanon. For those who remember the 1980s and 1990s, a security zone is not a temporary buffer. It is a long-term military presence on foreign soil. Troops, checkpoints, surveillance, designed to push Hezbollah back from the Israeli border permanently. But here is what is driving this plan, and it tells us something important. A senior Israeli military official recently acknowledged publicly that completely disarming Hezbollah during the current offensive may be unrealistic. That is a significant admission. A military commander, in effect, is telling the world, the goal we announced at the start of this campaign is harder than we said. The Israeli military then issued a clarification, saying the long-term objective is still disarmament. Just, they added, over time. Not this month, not this year necessarily, over time. That shift from we will disarm Hezbollah to we aim to disarm Hezbollah over time is not a minor adjustment in wording. That is a recalibration. The military acknowledged that the campaign is longer, harder, and messier than it originally presented to the public. Meanwhile, Hezbollah has not gone quiet. It launched 2 separate rocket attacks targeting Kiryat Shmona in northern Israel in recent hours. It also struck near a helicopter landing pad established by Israeli forces in the border town of Marun al-Ras, a pad being used for casualty evacuation. Hezbollah knows where that pad is. They targeted it on purpose. Now, this is the part of tonight's broadcast that should genuinely stop you. 5 weeks into a campaign of daily U.S. and Israeli strikes against Iranian military infrastructure. 5 weeks of hitting missile sites, drone factories, air defense systems, command centers. U.S. intelligence has reached a conclusion that is very difficult to overstate. Roughly 50% of Iran's missile launchers are still intact. Read that again, 50%. After 5 weeks of sustained aerial bombardment by the most technologically advanced military forces on the planet, half of Iran's ballistic missile launching capability remains functional and ready. And it does not stop there. Thousands of Iranian one-way attack drones remain in the arsenal. Not hundreds, thousands. The intelligence assessment also found that a large percentage of Iran's coastal defense cruise missiles are untouched, consistent with the U.S. air campaign not focusing heavily on coastal military assets. A U.S. intelligence official told CNN directly, the Iranian military is still very capable of causing, in their words, absolute havoc across the entire region. Now compare that with what has been said publicly. President Trump, in the opening days of this conflict, told allies he did not need their help. He projected dominance. He suggested resolution would come quickly. And yet here we are, 5 weeks in, with U.S. intelligence privately reporting that Iran has barely been scratched in terms of its core strategic capacity. That gap between the public narrative and the private intelligence picture is not a small thing. That gap is the story. Iran responded to these intelligence reports with a statement that was theatrical, but also pointed. I want to paraphrase it because the substance matters. Iranian officials said, "Your information about our military capabilities is incomplete. You know nothing of our vast strategic resources. Do not believe you have destroyed our missile production, our long-range drones, or our air defense systems. The sites you think you have targeted are insignificant. Our production happens in locations you will never find and never reach. We are sparing you the effort of counting our missiles and drones because you will achieve nothing." Now, we do not treat Iranian state statements as verified fact. But here is the uncomfortable truth. U.S. intelligence appears to broadly corroborate what Iran is claiming. Not the rhetoric, the substance. That Iran's strategic military capacity remains largely intact. When your enemy says, "You haven't hurt us as much as you think," and your own intelligence agencies quietly agree, that is a problem. And then came the news that stopped every newsroom watching this conflict. Iran has claimed responsibility for shooting down 2 United States warplanes. The U.S. has confirmed both incidents. An F-15E Strike Eagle went down over western Iran in the Kogaluya and Boyar Ahmad provinces. An A-10 Warthog crashed near the Strait of Hormuz. 2 American crew members have been rescued. 1 American airman, as of this broadcast, remains missing. A search and rescue operation is underway right now. U.S. forces are racing against time to find that person. Iran, meanwhile, has offered a reward to any Iranian citizen who locates the missing crew member and hands them over to Iranian authorities. Iranian state television aired footage it claims shows the wreckage of the first aircraft. U.S. officials have not confirmed those images. The United States has now lost at least 7 manned aircraft since the beginning of this war. 7. Not drones, not unmanned systems, crewed combat aircraft. An F-15E costs around $100 million conservatively. But the dollar figure is almost beside the point. These aircraft represent years of pilot training, thousands of flight hours, and irreplaceable human expertise. More than that, they represent American service members, some of whom are now missing or dead. Losing them matters. Strategically, symbolically, humanly. I want to spend a moment on a phrase being used in serious security circles right now because I think it captures what is happening in this war better than anything else I have heard. Not mission creep, the familiar idea where wars expand beyond their original goals. The opposite, mission shrinkage, where the stated objectives quietly contract as the reality on the ground proves harder than the early rhetoric suggested. Look at where this started. Regime change in Iran was, at minimum, implicitly on the table in the opening weeks. The targeting of Iranian leadership, the sweeping declarations, the confidence that this would be resolved fast, all of it pointed toward a large maximalist goal. Now listen to what American officials are saying today. We are not about regime change. The language has shifted, quietly, without fanfare. The ambitions of this campaign have been scaled back. On the Iranian side, the picture looks starkly different. Iran has demonstrated the ability to escalate at will. It can expand the conflict when it chooses, as we saw with the recent Houthi missile strike on Israel, which drew an entirely new front into this war. Iran is not just reacting. Iran is choosing its moments. That is a military that, at minimum, does not believe it is losing. Then there is the American domestic picture. The Pentagon, under Secretary Hegseth, has seen the removal of multiple senior generals. Decision-making inside the White House is being described across the political spectrum as chaotic. There is a real and serious question, not a partisan one, about whether American leadership currently has a coherent and executable strategy for where this war goes next. One analyst framed it this way, and I think it deserves to be repeated. When the United States goes to war in the Middle East, the fear is usually mission creep, that the objectives expand. What we are actually seeing here is mission shrinkage. If that is correct, and the evidence is beginning to support it, then America is in a significantly more precarious position than its public statements suggest. Where does this go from here? Honestly, no one can tell you with confidence. Not U.S. intelligence, not Israeli military planners, not the analysts in Washington think tanks. There are too many variables. The potential flashpoints are everywhere. A strike that goes too far, a missing airman surfacing in Iranian custody on live television, a Hezbollah escalation that pulls Lebanon fully into the war, a miscalculation somewhere that nobody planned for. What we can say is this. The assumption that air power alone would resolve this, that enough strikes, enough precision weapons, enough demonstrations of American technological superiority would bring Iran quickly to the table, that assumption has been tested, and it has been found wanting. Iran is still standing. Iran is still striking. Iran is escalating when it chooses to. And Iran is projecting, at least publicly, a confidence that it is holding its own. Whether that confidence is fully warranted, only time will tell. But in geopolitics, sustained confidence becomes its own form of power. The Iranian civilians living near targeted facilities did not choose this war. The American airmen missing somewhere in western Iran tonight did not start this war. They are the ones paying its price. We will keep watching. We will keep reporting. And we will keep bringing you the truth. Not the spin, not the speculation, the truth, as best as it can be known. Stay safe, stay informed. We'll be back with more.